It is the first cool evening in October, and you back the truck up to the tree line to gather wood before dark.
You pick up the best-looking piece in the whole woods, dead, dry, off the ground, light in your hand. And running up the length of it there is a gray rope, furred over like it grew a beard, wrapped tight around the bark. Every camper in America throws that log on the fire. In 72 years in these mountains, I never once saw my grandfather put a piece of wood like that anywhere near a flame. Not for cooking, not for warming, not for burning brush in the spring. And it is not superstition. There is a thing that comes out of that gray rope when it gets hot, and it does not stay in the fire.
It gets in the air, and then it gets in you. I watched a man carried off a mountain over it.
Stay with me to the end, and I will tell you exactly what is inside that bind, what it does once you have breathed it, and how to spot it on a log in the dark with nothing but a flashlight. And on the way there, I am going to hand you 72 years of camping in the oldest mountains on this continent. My name is Burl. I am 72 years old. I live in eastern Kentucky, in the house my grandfather Wendell put up in 1931, on the same ground. The road out of here washes out most Januaries. I heat and cook off one stove. I have not had a freezer since 1987.
My grandfather taught me the woods, and he never wrote a word of it down. Nobody did. So listen close.
Now the first thing, and my grandfather said a camp is won or lost before you set anything on the ground. Everybody comes into these mountains and camps in the bottom. Flat spot, water right there, easy on the back. That bottom is a trap. Cold air is heavy. After the sun goes off the ridge, it slides downhill like water, and it pools in the hollow. And by 3 in the morning, that flat spot by the creek is running 10 or 12 degrees colder than the ground above it. But here's the part the flatlanders get wrong when somebody tells them that. They go to the top, and the top is worse because the top takes the wind, and wind will take heat off a man faster than cold ever thought about it. The warm ground is in the middle. A band running maybe a third of the way up the slope, above the cold that pools and below the wind that scours. We call it the thermal belt around here, and it is not a story. Every apple orchard my grandfather's people ever set out is planted in that band. They put peach trees in the bottom exactly one time, and the late frost got them, and nobody did it twice. So when you come in here to camp, do not look for flat.
Look for where somebody 100 years ago planted an apple tree, and get level with it.
And before you lay one thing down, stand where you mean to sleep and look straight up. These mountains are full of standing dead hemlock. A bug came in on nursery stock out of Asia and killed them by the million, and they have been standing there dead ever since, going brittle. A limb like that comes down with no wind and no warning. There is an old name for it, and the old name is a widowmaker.
Look up before you look down. My grandfather said that to me so many times I hear it in his voice yet.
Now, the fire. And in these mountains it matters what you burn, not just that you got it lit. Hickory and white oak are what you want, and you want them for the coals more than the flame. A hickory coal bed will cook a whole supper and still be warm enough at midnight to bring back with a handful of dry grass. Black locust burns hotter and longer than anything else on this hill, and it grows in every old fence row because they used it for posts. A locust post will stand in this ground for 60 years and outlast the man who set it. Do not cook over pine. Pine goes up fast, it throws sparks into your tent, and the resin in the smoke gets on your food and you can taste it. And there's one you leave alone entirely. Rhododendron and mountain laurel. Down here, we call the thickets laurel hells because a grown man can get lost in 40 feet of it. It is everywhere along these creeks. It is dead easy to break off, and it burns.
Every part of that plant is poison. It will kill a cow that browses it in a hard winter.
My grandfather would not cook a piece of meat over laurel smoke, and he would not let a pot sit in it, and in 72 years I have never seen a mountain family do different. If it grows in a hill and it has got a waxy green leaf on it in January, it is not firewood. Now, your bed, and this is the piece I would give a new camper before any other, because the cold that gets you is not the cold you can feel. The ground is a thief. Earth pulls the heat straight out of a sleeping body, quiet all night, and there is no blanket you can pile on top that fixes what is being taken from underneath. Old people in these mountains never once slept on bare dirt. Before dark, you gather dry leaves, and here is where you find them dry after a wet week. Go to a log lying across the slope and get the leaves stacked against the uphill side of it. The log holds them and the water runs around them, and that drift will be dry in the middle when everything else on that mountain is soaked. Build it 4 inches thick after you press down on it, not before. Lay your blanket over that. It works because trapped air will not carry heat, and 4 inches of leaves is nothing in the world but trapped air. Hold on to that. Trapped air, trapped water. It is the same idea that comes back at the end of this, and it is the whole reason that Bind does what it does.
And on a slope, sleep with your head uphill. A man who sleeps sideways on a mountain wakes up at the bottom of it.
Now the water, and up here water, is not the simple thing it looks like. That creek is running down off a mountain you cannot see the top of. Somewhere above where you are standing there is a pasture, or a septic line from a trailer, or a coal seam somebody opened in 1950 and walked away from. If the rocks in the creek bed are stained orange, do not drink it and do not cook with it. That is iron coming out of an old mine, and the water is acid. Nothing lives in it. Look at it and you will notice there is nothing living in it. What you want is a spring, where the water comes out of the hill itself instead of running across the top of it. And run your camp the way the old ones ran theirs.
You drink above camp. You wash below camp. Everything you rinse off travels away from your cup instead of into it.
Your food hangs or rides in the truck, and it does not spend the night beside your head. Camp clean and you sleep quiet. Now the copperhead, because everybody asks about the snake and everybody asked the wrong question. They want to know if there are snakes. There are. Copperheads and timber rattlers all through here. The question is where, and the answer never changes. A snake is looking for warm, and a snake is looking for mice. That is a rock ledge that took sun all afternoon and is giving it back at dusk. That is a woodpile. That is the fallen chimney and the sunk foundation of an old home place. Because where there was a corn crib 100 years ago, there are mice today. So do not put your hand anywhere your eyes have not been. And when you come to a log lying across the trail, step up on top of it and then step off.
Do not step over it, because the far side of that log is exactly where he is lying.
I have been within a foot of more copperheads than I could count, and I have never been bit, and it is not because I am lucky. And now the one that actually puts people in the hospital in these mountains, which is not the bear and is not the snake. It is the yellow jacket. Late summer, and they nest in a hole in the ground, and the hole is the size of a quarter in the middle of a perfectly ordinary patch of leaves. You will not see it. You will step on it, or you will drag a tent stick through it, and 100 of them come out of the ground at once, and they can each sting you as many times as they want to. Late July into October, before you clear a spot, stand still for a minute and watch the ground. If there is a hole with traffic going in and out of it steady, that camp is somewhere else. Move 30 yards and stop worrying about it. And do not swat at one. They call the rest when you do. And while you are watching the ground, watch yourself for ticks, because there is one in these mountains now that does something nobody would believe if it were not happening to people in this county. It is the Lone Star tick, and it has a white spot on her back like somebody touched her with a paintbrush. She is not the deer tick everybody warns you about. She is worse in a way nobody saw coming. She bites you, and some months later you eat a hamburger, and in the middle of the night your whole body breaks out, and your throat swells, and you have got no idea in the world why. She puts a sugar into you that is in red meat, and your body learns to fight it. After that, beef and pork are done. Some people get it back after years, and some never do. I know 2 men it happened to, and one of them raised cattle his whole life. Check yourself every evening, and get her off you with a pair of tweezers straight up, not with a match, and not with a thumbnail. Now let me give you the weather, because up here the mountain tells you a day ahead if you know how to look. In the morning, watch what the fog does. If the fog lifts up off the water and climbs the mountain and burns off, that day is fair. If the fog settles down into the hollow and lies there, or comes down the mountain towards you, there is rain coming, and usually inside a day. And listen to the creek at night. When the air gets heavy ahead of a storm, that creek will sound like somebody moved it 200 yards closer to your camp. Nothing about the water changed. The air did.
My grandfather could stand on the porch and tell you whether to cut hay tomorrow, and he never owned a barometer in his life.
One more before I pay off what I promised you. The old way to hold a fire all night is the backlog. You lay one big green log across the back of the fire, and you build against it. And at bedtime, you rake your coals up tight against that log and pull ash over the top of them. Ash will not burn, and it will not let air through, so those coals cannot race and they cannot die. They sleep the same as you do. Come daylight, you rake the ash back, and there they are, still orange, 8 and 9 hours later. Lean in, blow on it, feed it dry grass. Fire before you ever find your coffee. And now the vine. That gray rope wrapped up the log with the hair on it is poison ivy. Not the little 3 leaves along the ground. The old vine, wrist thick, that has been climbing a tree for 30 years. In the winter, the leaves are gone and the hair is all that is left of it. The itch is not from the plant. It is from an oil in it. And that oil does not burn up in a fire. It rides. It comes off in the heat, and it gets carried up in the smoke, stuck to the soot, and it goes wherever the smoke goes. Onto your hands, onto your face, into your eyes, and if you're sitting downwind of it, straight down your throat and into your lungs. On your arm, it is a week of misery. Inside you, the same blistering happens where you cannot reach it, and where a doctor cannot reach it either. It swells shut. That is a hospital, and it is oxygen, and it is a bad several days, and people have died of it. The man I watched him carry off a mountain had been burning brush all afternoon and had pulled the vines off the trees to do it.
He did not touch a thing wrong with his hands. He just stood in his own smoke.
And the oil does not go away. It stays on a dead vine on a dead log for years. Old and gray and dry means nothing. So here's how you check, and it takes 4 seconds. Before you throw anything on that fire, run your light up the length of it. You are not looking for a leaf. You are looking for a rope on the bark with hair coming off it like a boot brush. Hairy rope. Put it down. And put the log down too, because the roots of it are grown into that bark, and you will not get it all off. If it is smooth, it is a grapevine, and a grapevine will not hurt you. That is it. That is the whole test, and my grandfather never once explained it to me until the day I watched what happens when a man does not know it. So keep out of the bottoms and out of the wind. Get level with the apple trees. Look up before you look down. Leave the laurel alone. Get 4 inches under your back. Drink above camp and wash below. Watch where the fog goes, and never put a hairy vine on the fire. Tell me in the comments what part of the country you camp in. And if your people came out of these mountains, I would like to hear the name of the county. I read all of them. Next time, I will show you the one tree growing on nearly every ridge in this state, and the 3 things my grandfather took off it: a fire that lights wet, a tea, and something to put on a cut.
Be careful up there. Come see me.